Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun, and this is our From Season 3, Episode 8 reaction and review. We're closing in on the end now, and the producers, they're kind of like, okay, guys, we know, we see you. You have been here through all of this. We're going to start to give you some good stuff. Well, I don't know, maybe good stuff's not the right word given what may be happening to Fatima here, but we're going to give you something.
Yeah, it's nothing good's happening to Fatima right now. I mean,
Yeah.
she's being dragged into this back room with the kimono lady.
Yeah.
She's got Elgin there, who's now drained a bunch of his blood, I assume for Fatima to drink so that she can continue her transformation into being a monster, which is what my tinfoil hat theory
Yeah.
is that this room is where the monsters are born. And that's why when we've got Elgin saying, oh no, there's a baby there. It's just not yours. The baby is you, Fatima. It is you being born into this monster. It's not great. It's not great. Can
No.
you be saved? I don't know. Nobody knows you're there. Nothing great's happening.
No, I mean, it's really hard to think about anything other than her becoming the monster at this point. I mean, could you argue, I guess, that her baby is the monster? Sure, but I kind of like the idea of her being the monster more at this point because we've already seen too many evil babies out
Yeah,
there
we have.
in the TV world, and it feels very much like we're actually seeing, though, the real birthplace of these monsters and what's being happening here. And Elgin, it's not
Oh,
you. I
sweet
feel I
Elgin.
this is the thing, and this I think it's deliberate on the part of Fromville too, that the people who they're putting in these roles to do this nefarious stuff, whether it be Sarah in the
Hmm.
past, whether it be Elgin now, that these are people you would not suspect. Elgin comes across as one of the nicest guys in the whole town, and that's what made this end of this episode so hard because he's so clearly acting outside of himself. Like, this is not the Elgin that we know and love, that he's gonna trap somebody there.
No, I think this town very specifically targets people that have good hearts and good souls and then gives them the promised land. If you do this one thing, Sarah, if you kill Ethan, everybody will be free. It'll all be good. And it feels like the same sort of thing is happening to Elgin. The thing with Elgin is that he's not really talking to anybody
Yeah.
about what's happening to him. He's talking a little bit, but not enough for us as the viewers to know what's being said to him outside of the very few little clips that we're getting from the kimono lady that's like, help me. And is there more that's being said? Hey, if you help me and you do this and you get Fatima in here, feed her my blood, feed her your blood and have this all turn around where she'll be a monster, I'll let you guys all go. That there's always feels like there's some sort of a promise, and
Mhm.
that it's always the good-hearted people that are being targeted with this promise because they want to do the right thing to be able to
Yes.
help people. But before we go too much further into this, be sure you hit that
Mhm.
subscribe button. We are going to be here for the rest of the season talking about From and theories and all kinds of fun stuff. But we also have Silo that's going to be coming up if you're
Yeah.
looking for your next, fun thriller horror show. It's going to be coming up soon, a couple weeks. And we also have Dexter that's going to be coming up in December. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.
If you guys do want to support us further, be sure to join our Patreon. We have a link in the description below. Right now, we have exclusive video coverage there of the Penguin, which has
Mhm.
been really, really fun. And the fun doesn't stop there because moving forward here, we have Landman and Dune Prophecy. Both of those are going to have exclusive video content over on Patreon. We don't want you to miss that. And thank you to everyone who is supporting us there.
Thank you. Okay, let's stay on this connection of we've
Yeah.
got Sarah who was told by the town, if you do these terrible things, you're going to have freedom for everybody. It feels a lot like this is what's happening to Elgin as well. He's being
Yeah.
controlled. He's being shown these things by the Polaroid, the bag of blood. He puts all this blood in a jar. Seemingly he's going to feed it to Fatima. He's going to
Yeah.
put her in this room and be like, all you have is blood. So continue your transformation sort of thing. Let's talk a little bit about the children, the Nkui children,
Mhm.
because we're going to get much deeper into it, but sort of the base here seems like people who love them, people who they trusted, parents, friends, whoever, it seems like they sacrificed these children for some sort of a greater good. They were all laid out on slabs, all these horrible things had happened to them. And it feels like the same thing keeps happening, where it's like they're told that if they do these bad things, sacrifice these children, then you have Sarah also sacrificing a child. It's Ethan, and now we have Fatima, who thinks that she's pregnant, and it's the same thing is happening again. Oh, that's not just your baby. It's not your baby, it's the baby. It's like, okay, so again with the children, it always comes back to the children. Children are being sacrificed for this town, for freedom, to be able to get out of here. We know that Miranda and Tabitha have both been tasked with saving the children, to be able to save people in this town. It always comes back to the children.
There are both forces of good and forces of evil within Fromville. And I think that it's an important thing to acknowledge, that how all this is being manipulated is in a way so that evil, in a sense, will prevail. And it's understandably so, given that you've got a figure like the kimono lady, who I think at this point feels like a force of evil, where that they're basically directly taking control of people and having them do whatever it is they want, versus, someone like the boy in white, who we'll get into a little bit later with sort of the truth about that, which could be potentially a force for good. But I think the real question here with this town is, why have the children so much involved in all of this? And I think a lot of it comes down to the idea of children are viewed often as hope. When you think a lot about kids, you think about, oh, they're going to hopefully carry us through the next generation. What can you do for your children? And I think the town uses that as sort of the emotional anchor that is weighing these people down. Like I've said for a while, that I feel like this town is about overcoming adversity and being able to achieve a destiny that you're supposed to have, that whoever is behind this town knows this, but you have to undergo the most misery possible. And if you read a lot of psychological journals, anything else out there, the worst thing that somebody can go through is something involving children. And I think that's why that theme gets repeated time and time again in so many different places, because it's that one thing that's almost unrecoverable for so many people out there.
Yeah. And I think that for Fromville, this is just my tinfoil hat theory, that the town is unable to really actually manipulate the children. They're just unable to do it because they are innocents and they are good. That it's like, okay, well, then we need to get the adults to get the children out of this town. Because if the children are in this town and the adults can rescue the children or help the children, then I think the town crumbles and the town just falls apart and Fromville doesn't exist anymore.
I think that's a good point, because let's be honest here, as adults, we're all jaded. We've all lost a little bit of our imagination. We're old, we're crotchety, and children, they still are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They still feel like, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. And that is, in a way, what's so exciting and interesting about the boy in white, who I do feel like at this point is a pretty clear beacon of hope. Now, I mean, you can talk all about whatever the boy in white's origin is. Could he have been a creation from the start as the town, if they wanted to actually give people a way out, if they really trusted their heart and had that childlike sense of belief? Like, you can say that, but you could also say so many other things.
Yeah, my theory on the boy in white is that he was part of the Angui children, that they were all children that were there, and that he was just one of the only child that wasn't sacrificed, that for whatever reason, either he got away, he snuck away, his family wouldn't let it happen, whatever it was, he was not part of that, and that the rest of the children all got sacrificed and he didn't. And because he didn't, he is the person then that is still there being like, let's get everybody out of here. Let me help, a beacon of hope, as you will.
I wonder a lot if there's something to the idea that the people who seemingly are seeing the boy in white at this point, whether we're talking about a Miranda or a Tabitha, I mean, these are mothers, these are protectors, these are people who are used to looking out for other people. And I wonder in that sense if there is sort of that parental quality that the boy in white, like, I this is really into the weeds of Fromville at this point. This is drowning in tinfoil level. But is the boy in white out there having certain limitations as to how many people he can go to or he can appear to at some time? Or it's like a very specific choice of who is actually going to believe me?
Yeah, because he also appears to the children, because Ethan has seen him and Victor saw him as a child as well. And then as Victor became an adult, he stopped seeing him, which I thought was kind of interesting. But okay, let's get into the boy in white. So Victor was losing his mind, trying to find a way to get Jasper to talk.
Yeah.
I had felt that the only person Jasper was probably going to end up talking to was Jade, if anybody, because he had seen Christopher and he had seen Jasper. Huge plot twist. It's not Jasper at all. Finally, Victor remembers where he saw Christopher talking to Jasper, and it was at the church. And when they get there and he starts to have, these memories flood back to him, he's like, oh my God, it wasn't Jasper at all. It was actually the boy in white that was talking to Christopher. He told him everything, and Christopher was just like, lies. None of this is true. I don't believe you. And here's what some of the boy in white of what he said. And I've written it down so that I don't mess it up, because I don't want to mess it up. So the boy in white told Christopher the answers to the end are at the beginning, that it started with the children and what the others did to them. Others to me are the people that they loved, their parents, that the children were born in the dark and then they were murdered in the dark. So for me, they got sacrificed to the town. But someone that loved them told them a story and gave them hope, which I actually think is the boy in white, or the boy in white's parents, whoever helped the boy in white not become one of the sacrificed children. And that when the children laid on the stones, they poured their hope into the roots to make the symbol, and those roots became the tree, the faraway tree, which was the way that they were able to, in their death, help other people escape this town.
I think it's a pretty straightforward application as to what actually happened here. And I think that we can all say, okay, was the boy in white related to somebody who helped him? Was the boy like here all along? I think no matter, the symbol of the boy in white still remains, that people can view him and sort of think whatever they want to think as a result, which is why Christopher didn't end up going in that direction. I just want to say, though, for now, I am so happy that Jasper does not actually talk, because it's just,
I know, you were so worried about that.
Listen, this show can do anything it wants. It's weird. We've got cicadas and ballet dancers and all other sorts of stuff, but it's just talking puppets is just a little bit too, I don't know, out there, been done a lot hokey. I really like how that was a well-placed red herring, but it also went into something a whole lot more, which is sort of the story of how a lot of this began. It began with sacrifice. It began with overcoming a certain amount of adversity and understanding things that may not be easy to believe, but the idea that people sacrifice themselves potentially so that someday you could find a way out, like that is a level of hope and overcoming adversity that should be a light in the darkness for so many people. The hard thing is just finding people who will actually grab onto that and are not still stuck in their own cycle of just cynicism and depression and death.
Yeah, my hope is that now that Victor and Tabitha and Sarah have all heard this story, and they are all people who will believe what the boy in white says, that they will go and share this information with other people in the town. They need to start sharing information. It's something that they've needed to do for seasons, and I feel like it's coming. They're getting more and more information this season, and I think that they're going to start sharing it.
Okay, Tabitha, I'm going to rely a lot on you, because I already know people don't want to believe Sarah. They're never going to forgive Sarah, so on and so forth. But Tabitha, go to Jade. Tell Jade everything. There's one thing Jade loves, and that is the sound of Jade's voice. Jade will then go and tell everybody else and then the word can start to spread. Yeah, sure, there might be some trust issues with J2, but he can say you told it to him.
Yeah, and just at this point, bring in Kenny, bring in
Yeah.
Boyd, people who have seen and believe, bring in Christy. Like, the main players will believe. Donna, she will believe. Like, if they can all put their information together, they can really start to figure things out.
Yeah, I think we're actually, in famous last words, I think we're actually on the road to something here at this point, because they already knew the faraway tree represented something. I mean, it's already been out there how exactly Tabitha got out, but I think it's more clear now that seeing the boy in white is a pretty significant part of it, so they can actually start to put the pieces together. And if the boy in white is truly a benevolent figure, and if the boy in white actually is trying to help people, what better time than the present to start showing up for some other people too?
It's also time that Julie and Randall and Muriel all start to talk about what happened to them. Now, okay, we're going to get into Julie and Randall, who to me are not becoming romantic. I know that there's a lot of people out there that think that that's where the story's going. For me, the chemistry feels like Big Brother. Like, it feels like, I'm going to teach you to drive, kid. You know, let's do this sort of thing. And that's where I think that that's actually going. I still think that Randall's on his redemption tour, and that's great. I'm glad to see it, because we have Acosta, no first name, still going around, becoming a problem at this point. But we had Julie bring Ethan, which I thought was the exact right person to bring with her, to go to these ruins, to really start to dive into the cicada thing and what happened. Because Muriel doesn't want to talk about it at all.
No.
Randall wants answers, but he's having a really hard time facing what those answers might be. Julie is just like, it's time. Like, I need to know what's going on. Like, what happened to me? Why am I connected to this particular place? And she goes there and she's having a seizure, but really she's down at the well with Boyd throwing down the rope. She's seeing what happened to him. She's seeing what happened to Tabitha when Tabitha and the house collapsed and her and Victor were underground with the monster. She's seeing other people's experiences.
There is something that came out of what happened with the cicadas, and I think these three are going to be very important to not just the future of the town now, but in the potential season 4. I think this is going to be a pretty big storyline, whether they are being set up to be descending into madness and causing some other problem that way, because once again, you know, Julie at least is somebody perceived to be pretty innocent, but I think there is maybe a different route that they can go, a little bit more of a hopeful route, where as a result of what they all went through, they've gained something that can be useful to the town on the other side of it. And for Julie, if this is just being able to see other parts of the world from different points of view, knowledge is power. This gives her the gift to potentially be able to do what this town sucks at, which is communicating, and that she can start to see things from a different lens, and maybe that can be useful.
Yeah, I think this trip that she took in getting this information, I think, is something that can bring everyone together. I think her going and maybe talking to Randall and Marielle about it first and seeing if maybe they're willing to come back. And even if they're not, at least having those conversations with those two and seeing if there's more information she can even get out of them, to then bring that information to everyone, that there is a way for her, at the very least, even if the other two don't want to help, there is a way for her to be able to go inside her mind and to be able to see things that maybe other people aren't able to see, to be able to connect everybody's experiences together.
Marielle, you need to get on the same picture with them. Get on the same picture. I don't even know if that's a phrase, but you know what?
It is now.
Get on the same page. I think that's what I actually meant to say. But you need to get on board with this, because I really think it's those three for a reason, and you put all of them together. I think that's when their greater purpose is going to become clear. But until that happens, they're just kind of incomplete pieces. And I think Julie can start to see a little bit of it now, but she's never going to be able to get all of it unless she can get Marielle on board. Okay,
before we get into more of Fatima, I just want to say, please give Jim something to do, because I'm getting really tired of seeing him just going to fight everybody and putting his hands on everybody. When Jim had his story of the radio tower and getting all that together, Jim was cooking. Like, it was a great storyline. I loved watching it. It was really exciting. Give Jim something to do, because watching him just go around manhandling people and having a fight with Jade and having a fight with this person, grabbing this, like, enough. If you don't have anything to do with him, like you guys have nothing to do with Kenny right now, it's okay to not use those characters right now and bring them in when you have something to do with them. Just let them be.
I would rather watch Smiley come back and learn how to samba than have to do anything.
I would watch that all day.
I would rather watch that a million times over whatever is going on with Jim, because it is very rinse and repeat. It's pretty frustrating, and it's the worst part of the show right now for me, when they don't have anything to do with Jim, and then they just play the Jim hits of him being angry, and then it's just like, I get it, you're angry, but guess what? Everybody else in this town is pretty angry too, and all of them have figured out how to do it better than you, and you are a parent, you have kids who are looking up to you. You have to get it together.
Yeah, stop putting your hands on people and yanking people around. It's ridiculous. I was really glad that Henry was there to see that fight with Jade, where Jade was just like, your wife is a grown adult.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to tell her what she can and cannot do. I am a grown adult. You don't get to tell me who I can talk to and who I can't talk to. It was good to see Henry there to just be like, listen, I know where you're coming from. I know that you're frustrated and you feel like you can't do anything to help, but this is definitely not helping.
Voice of Reason Jade is a top 5 character on From at this point.
Right?
I never thought we would get here, but that entire time I was like, you know what, Jade? You go, Jade. You've got this all figured out. You and your impressive beard. I'm so proud of you.
That beard's impressive.
That beard is very impressive. Now, okay, let's talk about something else in this episode that made me happy, and that is seeing Boyd and Donna get screen time together. Am I happy about the circumstance that they are dealing with? No, that is a completely different story.
No, I was really glad that Boyd and Ellis ended up telling Donna what happened. Like, they really didn't know how to deal with this situation. Like, Ellis was really scared that Fatima was going to end up in the box, and yeah, probably she would have. I mean, accidents happen and things happen, but there are still consequences for those actions. We've seen that already on this show, that they don't just let it go. So would Fatima have ended up in the box? Yeah. So they decide instead that they're like, okay, we're gonna just put her out in this cabin in the woods and then we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
But for Donna to come in and they finally just have this conversation with her and be like, okay, this is what actually happened. Donna is the person who is the voice of reason that makes the most sense, where she's like, listen, I love Fatima as well. And we know that she does.
Yes.
Like, no joke, just loves her. Fatima is someone that everybody really loves in this town. But the way that this is going for her and that she has now killed Tilly, there has to be some sort of responsibility for it. And I think it was very important for Boyd to hear when Boyd was like, hey, you know, Sarah also killed somebody and we were able to work it out. And Donna just straight telling him, you do not have the same influence that you did. Like, you were able to work things around and tell the town to deal with it, and we did. But you do not have the confidence of the town anymore. And because you don't have the confidence of the town anymore, you are not going to be able to convince people to just move on from it. That is not going to happen. So if you don't tell everybody, I'm going to have to. Don't make me do it. Donna, we love you.
Donna's great. Liz Saunders is great. You know, we spoke to her recently. We talked a lot about how just adaptable Donna is as a character, and that she's somebody through, I think, a lot of what she's gone through before Fromville and during Fromville. She understands how to roll with the punches and also at times separate emotion from logic and reality. Like you said, she loves Fatima.
Yes.
She doesn't want anything to happen to Fatima, but at the same time, she has to think about what's good and what's right for everybody else in the moment. And what she says to Boyd is doubly right, because not only does he not have the same influence he once did, he is also the most biased person possible in this. Like, you are her father-in-law
Yes.
at this point. Do you really think everybody is just going to buy into, oh, she's not a problem, she can stay with me, it's all gonna be, it's like, okay, great, Boyd, you were Mr. Tough Guy Sheriff, what are you gonna do if you're asleep and Fatima decides to go and get her monster on? Like, what's gonna happen, dude?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that even if he still had influence, he's so biased in this situation, which
Yes.
completely makes sense. He is her father-in-law. His son and him have already lost Abby. They've lost people. They're, losing Fatima as well. If Fatima is pregnant or not pregnant, I mean, that all comes into effect as well.
Yep.
It's just, he has too much invested in this for anyone to be able to listen to him and think that he's thinking unbiasedly and clearly on this situation. This is not the same situation where we first saw him put somebody in the box.
Yeah, this is going to set up, I think, a really interesting next couple of episodes, because I don't think Acosta's going to suddenly be the voice
Oh
of
my
reason.
God.
Or Acosta, I'm
No
ready.
name Acosta, no first name Acosta.
Fatima, if you become a monster, I know who you can go after. I'm about done with Acosta on the show at
Yeah.
this point.
Can somebody just give her some clothes? Like, I know she's still wearing this police uniform and she's like, give me my gun, or
Yeah.
these whole scenes with Acosta are driving me crazy, because it feels like, I understand she's trying to get some sort of control where she feels like she's not out of control, but like, welcome to having this gun and no bullets. Like,
Yeah.
does that help in any kind of way? Does wearing the uniform help in any kind of way? Just bring her in. Just give her some sort of love. She needs a hug. Kenny,
something.
come in and help her out.
Kenny, to me, is, I think, one of the X factors moving into the rest of the season at this point, because he has spent a lot of time with Boyd. He's somebody who understands loss tremendously, given
Yeah.
everything that he's gone through. I think he could actually be a pretty good human voice of reason to figure out this situation in the next couple of episodes. I mean, first of all, they got to find out what's actually happened to Fatima, and beyond that,
Yeah.
they also probably need to be like, oh, where's Elgin? It's been a while since we've seen Elgin, and then try to figure out what's going to happen there. I'm really worried about Elgin in these next couple of episodes, because if he's still in the midst of this, I don't know if he's going to be able to get to the other side like Sarah kind of sort of has.
Nobody knows about this room, and very few people know about this cellar. I think that Fatima's lost, and I really hate saying that, but I don't know how she's found, because so few people know about this root cellar at all, and the people that do know about it, nobody's going there, because they're, as far as they know, there's nothing there. You go down there, there's this little space that has like a closet there, and there's nothing else there. There's no reason for this place, and there's no reason to go to this place. I think she's lost. Like, I don't know how she gets found.
Real talk, guys, somebody's going to eat it in the final couple of episodes. Tilly's not going to be yet. I think it could very well be Fatima. It could very well be Elgin. Maybe they'll go completely off the board here, but
maybe it's both of them. Maybe Elgin will do what he needs to do to help her become the monster, and then the monster will eat the Frankenstein, and that'll be the way it goes.
And on that particularly happy note,
Wah, bah, bah, bah.
wow, that is what we have on From Season 3, Episode 8. But thank you guys so much for being here with us, talking through everything we are seeing. Let us know what you think is going on with the boy in white, and how these people might be able to get out at this point. Is there an opportunity coming? And you can also hit that subscribe button, support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description below if you want exclusive coverage of the Penguin in video form. Thank you so much. We'll see you here next time.